Welcome back to Fire Dragon, and we're here today with another special episode. There has been a previous episode of me talking about my video game ideas for Rove Industry, and I thought I'd make an update video on this video of the previous video. There are a bunch of different ideas that I've added, like a lot of different things that I've added, and I'd like to go over them. So, if you haven't seen the first video, it's going to be over what you see on your screen right now. This is the original game document of the video game. And most of this is the same as what you saw. There's a few additions to this document, but they're better explained in the other documents, which we are about to show. I'll also put an annotation for you guys to visit the older version of the video if you would like to see, although I probably wouldn't suggest it because this will be better, I hope at least. Alright, so we are here on the rover bound to Earth document that I have made. It's much more uniform and it looks nicer and everything for the most part. But one thing that I didn't anticipate when I started creating this is that these comments will not copy over. I have to remake the comments for anything. So that's kind of bad. However, all the information is still here. I have access to it and everything, so that's not an issue. But I just thought I'd say that. So yeah, we have the Rover Bound to Earth, which is going to be the first game in the series of games. There's going to be more. I haven't worked too much on the other games. I do have basic ideas of what I want them to be, but of course you should always work on the first game first. So I have done that, and that's what we're going to go over right now. Again, it's called Rover Bound to Earth. So basically, you're going to start underground. Well, I guess you should probably start off saying, so imagine Terraria. Terraria is a two-dimensional, flat world game, open world, sandbox kind of game, but also has its own direction. You can build whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, but there are also enemies to fight. And if you don't know much about Terraria, this is going to sound dumb, but your main point of the game is to fight the Moon Lord. And the Moon Lord is the end game fight, essentially. And so whenever you defeat the Moon Lord, you've basically beaten the game. However, you can continue on playing and doing whatever. You don't even have to fight the Moon Lord if you don't want to. There's a bunch of extra small biome things to do, collect whatever. You can do pretty much anything you want. Of course, limitations of the game, but that's kind of what I want to create here. It's most easy to compare to Terraria, but it's not really going to be like Terraria. So let's go more into the details now. It's going to have that pixelated style, so that's what you should be imagining in your head, Terraria style graphics. If not, go look up Terraria. Pretty simple to find Terraria. But anyway, so what's going to be the start of the game? Of course, you're going to hit play, you're going to create your character, you're going to create your world, and like Terraria, you're going to be able to move your character through different worlds. It doesn't have to be a fixed one like in Minecraft or anything. But anyway, so you're going to create your world, and at the start of the world, you're going to be waking up underground. Yeah, this is if it's a new world and a new character. If you already have an old character, you just start on the top of the world and be normal, because it'd be weird for a character with tons of armor to just start off with this cutscene. But the player's gonna wake up far underground, not very far, far enough to where it's dark and stuff, and you're confused because you just wake up, and you're like, what's going on? It's daylight. You can see shadows, or well, I guess you can see the sun going into the tunnel that's like right above you, and it's two-dimensional, so it's kind of limited on how detailed it can be. But hopefully it'll be good enough. This explanation will be good enough to give you an idea of what I want. So you're going to it's not going to be you in control. It's just going to be a cutscene. So you're going to wake up, and then you're going to find your way out, which is literally just jumping up platforms essentially of dirt to climb out of the tunnel. Um, but when you're at the very bottom, um, of course, this kind of ruins the Easter egg if you're watching this video for the game in the future. But not everybody's gonna watch the video, so this is good. There's going to be a person like just barely inside your view range on to your left or to your right. I don't know. Who cares? But it's going to be a hunched over person watching you as you go up, and he'll be on the screen for like 10-20 seconds maximum, and so he'll be like an Easter egg kind of thing. And he'll hint towards the fourth game, which is a prequel game, and you'll learn all about him in the future. Blah blah blah. I don't need to talk about that. But you're going to find your way up, and along the way, climbing upwards, you're going to find a light pack, a radiation meter, and a basic supply package. You're just going to be on the ground in like a backpack or something. Maybe there'll be a skeleton there to show why the backpack's there or something. But anyway, so inside of the light pack, there will be a headlight. Or, well, I guess it's not inside of a light pack. The light pack is the name for this headlight. It will allow the player to dimly see the area that he's facing whenever you're in darkness. So if you're facing to the right, you'll see 35 degrees above your direct line of sight. I don't know how to make that any more simple, but you're able to direct it by moving your cursor. So whenever you move your cursor, the beam will move downward if you're moving it downward, and move upward if you're moving it upward. And it'll also move the player's head, so it'll be a little more inclusive, I guess, to the player, instead of just having the beam move. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say there, but I think you understand. So yeah, that's going to be that. It's going to be powered by different gasoline, or I think it's just by gasoline, which we'll get to in the future. But what you also pick up is a radiation meter, and this kind of brings onto the screen your expandable UI. So there's going to be a tips area. It's going to be in the bottom right. I would have liked it to be in the top right, but the guy that did the graphics for it didn't quite do it where I thought he would do it. Doesn't matter. Maybe we'll get it fixed in the future. I don't really care. But there's going to be like a little tip box, kind of, at the bottom right of the screen. And so it's going to show you different types of information. It'll give you, let's see, where did I put the information up? I don't remember where I put the information up. We'll probably get to it in the future and you'll understand more. But specifically for this one, it's going to allow you to expand. It's going to say, hey, radiation meter, and then there'll be a button say expand, and you'll hit expand, and it will show the amount of radiation in the nearby area. So it'll tell you if you can survive it without taking damage, and then there will be a number value assigned to radiation level, like 0 for literally 0 radiation, and you probably shouldn't be there because something's wrong, because there's never 0 radiation because the sun gives radiation, you know, that kind of stuff. But I don't think there will be a 0, I was just saying that. But like 1 for habitable, 2 for you're gonna take damage after lengthy exposure, and then 3 straight up you're dying while you're in it. And if you're dying while you're in it, well, I mean, you're just going to walk right out of it because you've noticed that you're taking damage, I would hope. But the idea is in the future you'd have certain types of armor that protect against this radiation, so that way, you know, force people to actually progress in the game. But and it will also tell you what level armor that you need in order to survive the area that you're at. So if it has a radiation level of 2, for example, this isn't set in stone or anything, but it would say needs cobalt armor to survive, or to not take damage is what that would mean. Or for radiation level of 3, it would say needs opal armor to survive or something. There are going to be different things. Different types of armor. It's not going to be cobalt or opal or any of the metal armors that we'll get to soon enough, but I haven't determined what those are going to be yet. But and then there will be warning labels across all of the utilities in the expanded UI. Now I don't know what the other utilities are going to be. Obviously the radiation meter is going to have like a little caution sign, or I think it should be a caution sign with like green, yellow, orange, and red, or something for good, not so good, pretty bad, and you're gonna die. But yeah. So the next thing that you pick up will be a basic supply package, which will include one basic bronze pickaxe, one basic bronze sword, one basic bronze axe, 10 torches, and one fuel canister. And this fuel canister will be filled up with gasoline to power your light pack. And your light pack will come with, the light pack itself will not be able to be activated until you pick up this fuel canister, which, utilizing the fuel canister, the light pack will be able to supply light. And then the fuel canister will be able to run out and such. But, so you'll notice it says basic bronze pickaxe, basic bronze sword, basic bronze axe. So basic essentially just means you can't craft this. You'll be able to craft bronze armor because there's no basic bronze armor, but the idea is there will be the basic is bronze, and there will be bronze ores, there will be bronze, like I said, bars and armor, that kind of stuff. You'll need bronze for different materials and stuff, but you won't be creating the pickaxe, the sword, or the axe. Like, it won't even be possible to create one, because what would be the point? You already have one, and you won't be able to lose it. That'll be something you won't be able to lose unless you have another sword in your inventory. So yeah, that's I don't know if I explained that right, but I tried to. So on your way up, you'll see 4 paths, to the left, to the right, one to the right, and of course the one still going upwards. The 3 are the areas that are locked, which will unlock in the future boss fights. There are 3 boss fights. Really, there are 4 boss fights, but for sake of ease, there are 3 boss fights for now. And they'll be blocked off by a mechanical door, and you'll need different types of fuel to unlock this. So we have gasoline, oil, uranium, and I don't remember the 4th kind right now, but there are 4 types of fuel, and each one will require, like each door will require a different type of fuel, and of course it'll be like gasoline will be the easiest to find. Oil will be in one of the dangerous biomes, so you have to have certain type of materials to get to it. And the same with the uranium. You'll need the most advanced materials to get uranium, so you'll have to have those advanced materials in order to unlock the boss. However, like I said, characters can go through different worlds. Therefore, if you want to pull a powerful character to open the door and then use a basic character to fight the boss, that'll be a challenge for you to do. That's a thing that my friends thought was a good idea because originally it was you have to have this certain type of armor and pickaxe and sword and stuff in order to fight the boss, and there was no other way. And I see the error in my ways. My friends have pointed out that that's stupid because people want to be able to challenge themselves. So yes, they will be able to do that, but they'll be able to see them. If you want to, you can stop it. You can't do anything with the doors except see that there's a dark room, and you can't see inside the room until you open the door. So then you'll be able to go straight up again. Again, this is all a cutscene, so you won't be able to do anything, but you'll be, seeing all this. Then the player will be given a few tips on what the controls are and how to start off playing the game. This will be displayed in the tips section of the information hub. So that information hub I was talking about with the radiation meter, there will be a tips section. There's also going to be a crafting section, and I don't remember what the other section is, if I even wrote it down anywhere. Wanting multiple sections to it, but crafting will display different crafting recipes for items that you have to unlock. And I don't know how that's going to work. I haven't expanded that yet. But, so as soon as you get up to the surface, you'll be given a few tips through the tips section of the information hub. For example, hold control to sprint or something. I don't know. But, that's what it's going to do. And then you're able to start playing by yourself and have control, typical Terraria controls, WASD, click, right click, that kind of stuff. So you'll also be spawning in with a home beacon because I want this world to be infinite, and It's gonna be difficult, although it is a two-dimensional world. It's gonna be difficult for people to find their houses. If you just create a house far to the right and then you go far to the left, you're gonna have to go all the way to the right and be like, oh, did I mess my house? Or if you build your house underground or something like that. Um, in an infinite world, it'll be more difficult to find your world than in a set world like in Terraria. But in the infinite world, it's going to be kind of hard. So there's going to be a home beacon that the player will be spawning with. They won't find this in the pack, the basic supply package or anything like that. It'll just be in their inventory. And it'll allow you to easily locate your base in the infinite world. So it'll emit a beam straight into the air. There will be a name, home beacon. It's just called home beacon. You can't change the name. Centered across the beam horizontally. So like there will be the beam, and then right across it you'll be able to see home beacon. When the player's off screen, there will be the words home beacon up to the top right or the top left. It can be toggled on and off if you want it to be, so it's not in your way at any point, but also so you know which direction to go. Like, oh, did I make my house far to the right or far to the left? I can't remember. It's been ages since I've been to my house. Oh, hey, let me toggle that on. Oh, it's far to the right. Good thing I didn't walk far to the left to find out it wasn't there. So yeah, that's a basic idea of the home beacon. Maybe we'll expand some more upon that later with suggestions or something like that. And then these are the biome types. These are kind of inserted from when I was working on them with my friends and stuff. I just inserted these, so these aren't quite the same format as the rest of the document is, but they are next in line. So the biomes, there are different biome types, as there should be. The desert biome, it's a typical desert, cactus. It's a desert, has dangerous enemies, that kind of stuff. So the enemy types, there is a crab that burrows into the ground. It just like makes a tunnel in the ground and turns into a super crab. And then it turns back into a normal crab when he burrows again. The super crab is twice as strong as the original crab. Now that might sound confusing because I'm bad at wording things, but essentially it's just a little crab, a harmless little crab. And then whenever you get near him, he like burrows into the ground and then comes right back out of the ground as a super crab. And he's dangerous and he attacks you and that kind of stuff. And either you kill the guy or you walk far enough away for him to burrow again and come back out and turn back into a normal crab. And that's pretty much all there is to the crab. So there are mutated mummies that fight the player. So as you'll probably figure out from the rest of this document, this is a post-apocalyptic world. I know, very cliche, but it has its own story. I think it's a pretty unique story. So there are going to be mutated mummies in this desert biome, and they're going to fight the player, as is obvious. So they're just going to look mutated, and they're going to be mummies with, typical, stereotypical mummy style and all that kind of stuff. And so they're going to come up and hit you in the face and be like, hey, die, and all that kind of stuff. And so, I'm sorry. So, there's going to be a mini boss of the biome. There's going to be a mini boss of every biome, and he's going to be basically more powerful than the rest of the enemies in the biome, but nowhere near to the extent of an actual boss, which there are only 4. So, yes. The mini boss of this one is a powerful pharaoh who can control the mummies when he's nearby them, and he makes them slightly more powerful. The pharaoh himself has high attack and high health, so he'll have like an army of the undead to fight against you, and whenever you actually finally, if you survive, get to the pharaoh, he'll be a difficult fight. So and that's why he is the mini boss. Alright, so on to the ice biome. Again, typical ice biome, ice everywhere. We kind of threw in a joke towards Russia here, because Russia is ice. But there's going to be gulag generals, which as informed by a friend, are prison wardens of Russia. So they roam around the ice biome, and of course they attack the player and all that good stuff. But there are also prisoners who roam around who escaped the Gulag generals, and so the Gulag generals will be like, "Hey, prisoner, get back there. Oh wait, let me kill the player first, but get back in the prison." And there is no prison; they're just all insane because of the post-apocalyptic society. Um, but yeah, that's the essential idea. The prisoners are gonna also attack the player because why not? They're prisoners. That there's a reason they're prisoners. So yeah, there's gonna be the mini boss of this biome, being an ice narwhal. It spawns only in the oceans of the ice biome. So I mean, it could be a small like 5 by 10 lake, but only in water inside the ice biome. He has a high health and high attack as well, and he has like a unicorn horn, but he's a whale. That's what a narwhal is, if you didn't know. So he's going to be like stabbing the ice above him and trying to kill the player. Or if the player's in the water, he's just going to like impale the player, and that kind of stuff. So that'll be a fun day in the game. All right, so there's a burning building biome. This one, I think this is a pretty unique idea. The entire biome is just a building, and it's burning. It's on fire. And so it goes all the way to the ground, all the way to the top. It'll be a set world as far as clouds and bottom of the world is, but like lengthwise it'll be infinite. If that made sense. Left and right will be infinite, top and bottom will not. But the whole biome will be a building. It'll reach all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom, and it'll be like industrial, except on fire and blown up and all that kind of stuff. So there will be fire serpents, basically a snake on fire, that will attack the player with venomous fire, because why not? Then there are firemen, which use water hoses and fire axes to attack the player. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, water hoses, how could that hurt a player? Do you know about the 1960s? But anyway, if the player has built a wall of any material, only if the player or players in multiplayer have built a wall of literally anything, firemen, the firemen can use a battering ram to break down the walls. And basically saying, don't build a house here because you're an idiot if you do. It's on fire. But anyway, there are also paramedics, which kind of go with the firemen, which is what makes them make sense in this biome. They attack with syringes in their hands, and they stab the player and eject the player. And they negate any form of healing potion that the player could potentially use. Ignore my cats in the background, they're annoying. Anyway, so it's going to last for 20 seconds, like a full dead-on 20 seconds of not being able to use your healing potions. So this is going to be a pretty advanced biome, and one that you don't want to traverse in until you're super powerful. And even then, you can't use healing potions, so you're possibly gonna die. It'll bring a new element of surprise into the game for the player. But the mini boss of this biome, I'm pretty certain this is unique. I don't know any other game with this kind of enemy. Then again, I don't play that many games, so I can't really say much. But the mini boss of this biome is a 5-headed elemental dragon. So it's just a dragon. It's gonna be maybe twice the size of the player, so like 7 blocks high or something. He's gonna have 5 heads and 1 body. So the dragon's gonna use water, fire, electricity, earth, and wind in order to fight the player. For the earth power, he uses an earthquake, and he causes rocks to fall out of the sky onto the player. For wind, the dragon creates tornadoes, and then all the others have different types of things, which I will get to a little bit in the future. Not in this document, though. So when you kill the dragon, the fire head is the last one to be cut off. Doesn't matter which ones you're killing. Like, you can kill the electricity one first, you can kill the water one first. It's just you're attacking the dragon and one randomly falls off. Except the fire one is always last. And when he's at this stage, whenever he's only the firehead, he becomes twice as strong, and he turns basically into the mini-boss. I mean, he already was one, because he's really powerful and has 5 heads, and all 5 of those are working in unison at the same time, by the way. I don't know if that came across, but yeah. So you'll have a bunch of different elements attacking at the same time. But whenever he gets down to only the fire, he'll be twice as strong, having high health and high attack. And onto the more peaceful grassland biome. It is a safe haven for players to build in. There are literally 0 enemies. If an enemy comes near it, I'm thinking either they will eviscerate, just evaporate essentially, turn into ash, who knows, or they'll just turn away and walk the other way, I don't know. Or maybe just they won't be anywhere near the grassland biome. I don't know yet. I think the evisceration one is the best idea though. So yes, it's a safe haven for players. They can build there, there's no enemies, and there are tons of plants. Specifically though, there's this one plant, so whenever you place down, like, you're able to take up this plant, and there's only one of these inside the biome, and it does not respawn, doesn't grow, you can't take seeds and plant them, but of course it's an infinite world, so there'll be multiple grassland biomes. But whenever you place it down, you can place it anywhere, even in the burning building biome. It's gonna be like a regeneration shield around the player, so you'll be able to have 20 health points per second be regenerated. Whenever you reach full health, the plant will die, and of course will not respawn inside its biome. It will be random as to if the biome has one of these plants, and only one of them will spawn in each biome, like I said, and yeah, it's going to be random as to if the thing has it, and it's going to be a small chance. So there's not going to be many of these, but they are overpowered. So if you're using this in a boss battle, that's a smart idea. So if you find one, make sure you take it, and don't use it unless you have to. If this biome is spawned next to a burning building biome, it will never spawn one inside of it, because we would like to make the burning building biome more difficult. And if there's a grasslands biome with this overpowered regenerating flower, then, and you go right on to the burning building biome, it's kinda defeats the purpose of the burning building biome being difficult. Of course, if you find one completely far away from burning building biome and bring it to the burning building biome, you know, that's a tongue twister, you're able to use it and stuff, but in general, it will never spawn right beside a burning building biome. Alright, and then the last biome that we have is the Fallen City. This is a city, the biome itself is a city. It's been bombed and abandoned, pretty much. It's going to have stores and all that kind of stuff in there that you can walk into, houses, and find chests and stuff all over the place. So the only enemy that there is in this biome is a survivor. He knocks out the player, just like the paramedic. He uses a syringe of medicine and injects the player with this strange, probably purple liquid, I don't know. So he's going to knock out the player with that, and he takes 5 randomized items out of the player's inventory. Doesn't matter what the item is. There's no changing the probability that it'll be taken. So if you have the best weapon in the game, there's still a 1 out of 50 chance that it'll be taken. Actually, there is a 1 out of 10 chance that it'll be taken, because it takes 5 items. So yeah, because there's 50 inventory slots, by the way. So they'll also take from any chest, including secret chests, which we'll get to in the future, and will graffiti any chest that they take from in order to show that they did so, because you're like, hey, where'd this item go that I had? I'm pretty certain I had this. You can know whether or not it's just your brain being stupid, or if you accidentally threw it away, or if it's a survivor that took from your chest. So they'll graffiti on it and say, hey, I stole your chest, that kind of stuff. And they'll do the 5 randomized things out of the chest as well. Um, so, alright, there are leveling systems in this game. This is still part of the thing that's just kind of random and stuff that I pulled from my friends helping me with stuff. So it's not very neat, but and it's not very elaboratory. It's not a word, is it? Elaborative. That's probably more of a word. Anyway, so there is a leveling system. There's a it goes by percentages and that kind of stuff. It's really not that in depth yet because it's a pretty deep subject that I haven't even gotten done with half the other stuff that I should probably finish. But so you have to craft upgradable items at this industrial workbench that you'll also have to craft. So the essential idea is you'll be able to upgrade your armor, your weapons, your tools, all that kind of stuff. And it'll just increase their usability. So for armor, you'll be able to upgrade armor levels to increase the defense of the player against certain types of attacks, like melee or ranged. So if you have 20% level on your armor, then you'll be able to be more protected against melee. If you have 40%, you'll be more protected against melee and ranged attacks from other enemies or PvP. I don't know if we're gonna add PvP or not, but so yeah, that's what that does. For armor, the crafting wise, I don't know why I said crafting recipe. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. But anyway, you craft the armor. Oh, right, I see now. You craft that armor, and then you like use it and some other substances to create this crafting tool or this upgrade tool. That was very confusing. But you take your armor, the armor that you have in your inventory, and then you take a duplicate of that armor. Take the duplicate with a few different items, combine those into an upgraded item, and then apply that to your armor that you're wearing in your inventory. And so it will improve durability of it'll be like it won't be like you apply it like an enchantment like in Minecraft or like a modifier or anything like that. It'll be a usable item that will apply to any bronze armor in the future that you craft, and of course the ones you're wearing, any of that specified type of item. So example, if you're using bronze armor, it will improve the durability by 9% of any bronze armor whenever you use it. I'm sure that was too confusing, but I don't know how to simplify that. So yeah, once you craft it, it cannot be crafted again. You literally cannot craft it a second time. I don't know if that'll be too complicated and too stupid, so it may just only be not applicable. We'll let you waste your resources, I guess. Maybe. But, anyway, so for the weapons, you'll be able to upgrade the damage that you do with said weapon. That's all there is to that. Same type of crafting. Use your weapon and another material to increase all of that type of weapon. And that kind of stuff. There's going to be purified water, which is your healing potion, essentially. You upgrade it to increase the potency of the purified water, aka as opposed to doing 10 healing whenever you drink the purified water, it will go up to, like, for example, 20 per potion. Purified water drinkageness and that kind of stuff. But first off, it's going to be crafted by different plants that are found in the grasslands biome, because that's the safe haven and that's where all the plants are. It'll have 12 different plants, and there will be 12 different upgrades. One for each upgrade. Wow, I'm smart. One for each armor type or level of tool. And so, or metal, that's probably the better wording. So each plant is increasingly rare to spawn. Like for the first level, in order to upgrade to the bronze level, you will need one type of plant, but for the iron one, you'll need a more rare type of plant. Then for the silver one, you'll need an even more rare type of plant. Just the one though. And so, more specifically, the base healing of purified water is 10. So every time you drink one of those potions, the purified waters, it's going to give you 10 health points. And then whenever you upgrade it, it will increase the player's health by 30% of your current health. So whenever you drink the potion, whatever your current health is, it will, like your maximum health, it will increase whatever hit points you have. Not hit points, whatever health you're currently at. Like if you have 400 maximum health and you're at 200, it'll increase that 200 by 30% of the 400. So 200 plus 0.3 times 400 is essentially the formula. So the maximum the player's health will get to in the future. That was a really weird scream that I kind of just did. But anyway, the maximum health that the player can have is 22,677, about 0.57 health. And so 30% of that is 7,560 health. So if you only have 2,000 health right now, currently you've been damaged down to 2,000 health, and you drink one of the purified waters, and it's been upgraded, of course, then you'll be able to do a whole 30% of that health, aka 2,000 plus 7,560, and you'll have 9,560 health. So it's a healing potion. Woo! We just said a whole bunch of bull to say that it's a healing potion. But anyway, there are different block types, as should be obvious, but I wrote them down, as many as I could think of that I would want. And there are going to be much more in the future. You're just going to have to think about them. There's dirt, grass, stone, stone bricks, light wooden logs, dark wooden logs, light wooden planks, dark wooden planks, and I think I'm just going to have regular wooden logs and wooden planks in neither of the other two variants, at least for now. Mossy stone, wool, different colors of wool, glass, colored glass, gravel, and radiation protectors, which you are able to lay down on biomes that are dangerous in order to walk on. Those would be very difficult to get, but if you don't have the right armor and you need to go into a biome, there you are, radiation protector. If you want to just cross the biome to get to a different biome, that would be the reasoning. Anyway, here are the tools and weapons. All three stages of crafting, steel, carbon steel, and opal, are not limited to pickaxes. The material or the bars are crafted from the previous bars, and the bars of each create the tools and weapons. And I'll explain that in basically just a second. So bronze is the first stuff. So like I was saying before, bronze tools and weapons are only given to the player through the basic supply package. As an ore, you can craft armor, and bronze will be the basic ingredient in many materials crafted in the future, but you cannot create the tools or weapons for bronze, or with bronze. But the next level is iron. So you'd find a bunch of iron ore, make your sword, and you have an iron sword. Woo. Same for silver, and the same idea for steel. So steel is a combination of the previous three pickaxes. So this is where what I was just saying with the tools weapons comment. It's not limited to pickaxes. I just used pickaxes as an example. This also works for armor. You take the previous three armor sets. Essentially, it actually doesn't work like that. I kind of wrote it wrong on here. Sorry about that. So this is gonna, I should have just said bars, materials, whatever. So you have a steel ore. You create, like, I don't know, 7 steel ores, and you turn it into steel bars. And I probably should have said silver. Silver ores go into silver bars. And you don't need steel ores, because you create a 1 bronze bar, 1 iron bar, and 1 silver bar, combine them, and that creates 1 steel bar. So it's a stronger version of these three, because these three are combined, literally. And that's how it works, essentially. And of course, it's going to need some wood for the pickaxe part, and that kind of stuff. And then it is also at this point, which you should be on the track of being able to unlock boss number 1. I never went back and reworded this because this is what I originally had. You have to harbor one steel pickaxe, one steel sword, and a full set of steel armor. That's not how it works. I never fixed it. But what it is the steel pickaxe is the only pickaxe able to mine, like even chromium, the step up, cannot mine this thing. But the steel pickaxe is the only pickaxe that can mine uranium. I don't remember what I have it to be. It's one of the fuel types, and so you'll get that fuel type by using a steel pickaxe, and therefore with that fuel type you'll be able to open the boss number 1's door. So whenever you combine together chromium, cobalt, and titanium, you'll be able to create carbon steel. And carbon steel is the only one that can mine certain type of fuel. I think it's oil. Oh, right. Steel was words. Steel was oil, or maybe it was gasoline, and carbon steel is oil or uranium. I think opal was uranium, so that would make this be oil and steel be gasoline. Oh, right, there's coal. That's the 4th one. Sorry, I was a confusing person. Steel is able to mine coal. Carbon steel is able to mine oil. And opal is able to mine uranium. Carbon steel can't mine uranium. Opal can't mine coal or oil and such. I think I got that point across finally. But anyway, so yeah, you'll have carbon steel pickaxe or sword or whatever, and it'll be more powerful than any of the ones before it. And then you have ruby, sapphire, and emerald, aka the jewel pickaxes, or the gem pickaxes. I don't know why I said jewel pickaxes. I'm stupid. But opal looks pretty awesome in real life. I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. Actually, a picture of the design that we created for it. That is, and it's basically just a combination of 3 gems. Opal, in general, in real life, is what I'm trying to say, is like marble of the other gems. So, yeah, just imagine that. So anyway, for armor, this basically tells you your armor's health that it gives you, like what it does to help you. So armor, in general, increases the player's health by 40% exactly each tier. So whenever you have bronze armor on, your health will go from the 400 base health to 560 health, maximum hit points. And then iron has 784, blah blah. You can see the rest. It goes up by 40% each time. And carbon steel is 5,903.1566224 health. Of course, on the screen you'll just see 5903 or something like that. I don't know if I want to like round it out to 6,000 just for aesthetic purposes or something, but then ruby, sapphire, emerald, and finally opal armor is the best armor in the game, which gives you a maximum of 22,677.56495 health. And here we are on to the enemies. So I'll just skip down to this section here. Enemies randomly spawn in the world regardless of time. Like in Terraria, nighttime was whenever certain enemies like the demon eye and zombie spawn. This game doesn't matter. Some will spawn in certain biomes and some will spawn in any biome. So these are the basic enemies here. We might add some more. We might take away a couple. I don't think we'll take away a couple, but you never know. So we have enemy number 1, which is the Bowmancer. I added the names afterwards, which is why it's not down here and it has 2 different sections. Anyway, enemy number 1 is the Bowmancer. It consists of 2 different variants, one that shoots arrows and one that shoots flaming arrows. Enemy number 2 is the Blade Wheeler. It harbors a simple sword. It's just a sword. The tier of this sword, bronze, iron, silver, cobalt, whatever, you name it, will correspond to the best one that the player has crafted. Not even the one in your inventory. So if you forgot your opal sword at home, well, that stinks, and you can only use a cobalt sword against these opal sworded enemies. So yes, enemy number 3 is the armed soldier. They hold different gun types. They cannot be crafted, and bullets are found in secret chests. Upon death, enemy number 3 has a 50% chance to drop the gun. So it's pretty easy. Just kill like 10 of these, have a couple of the guns to get the gun. But the bullets are the difficult thing to find. So you're going to have to be using swords against these enemies at the very first, at the least, because you can't craft these guns. And then again, we'll go over the secret chests in the future. So enemy number 4, the spearman, will attack the player with a pointed stick, one pointed stick, in his right hand or his left hand, depending on how he's facing the player. He's weird. Anyway, so every time he spawns, it'll be a one pointed stick, but he has a 30% chance of spawning with 2 pointed sticks instead of 1. So for every 100 that spawn, 30 of them will have 2 pointed sticks. As is what 30% means. I don't know how to explain that better. I tried. Really didn't work. So enemy 5 will be a rabid whatever animal it is. So we'll have rabid cat, rabid dog, rabid bunny, rabid bat, rabid squirrel. Those are the ones I can think of right now. And they'll be all essentially the same attack and the same damage and all that kind of stuff. It'll just be a different animal. And so what they'll do is, of course, they're mutated, so they'll look mutated, they'll look affected by radiation and that kind of stuff. And whenever they bite the player, which is how they'll attack, they'll give the player a radiated effect, which will negate any armor that the player is wearing. And you have to drink purified water in order to remove the effect. And it will continue to go on until you drink purified water. And I don't know, because originally I said purified water in this, but I planned on having 2 things: a purified water to reverse these kinds of effects, and a healing potion. And I called the healing potion purified water in the future because Mr. was like, hey, purified water sounds like it'd be a healing potion. So I might rename this to be something else, because it's different than the healing potions that we were talking about right up here. It is different. So, and it'll be difficult to get. That is one thing for sure. Well, I mean, it won't be too difficult, obviously, because these enemies will be, running around everywhere. But what they'll do is whenever they bite the player, like I said, it'll negate armor. So, instead of having that 22,000 health you have with your opal armor, you'll be back to your 400 health. And that just adds a new element of death to the game. Challenge, really. Alright, so there are going to be tar biomes, which we did not explain in the biome section because I have not written it down yet in this document. We'll get to it later. I'll have to go get the stuff. I actually wrote it down on paper and stuff. I haven't fully transferred everything I've done onto computer and everything. But anyway, so enemy number 6 is called the tar monster. You'll spawn only inside tar biomes. They'll drink from tar lakes, and they will spit at the player in order to slow and harm the player, because those will be liquid. That'll be liquid tar, so it'll be really, really hot, and it will, in real life, it'll give you some 3rd-degree burns there. But anyway, probably worse than that. I don't know what worse than 3rd-degree burns are. Probably 4th-degree burns. That's probably what they call it. But anyway, you say that's what they do. Enemy number 7 is the desert crab that we talked about. Enemy number 8 are the pharaohs, and all the rest of these we've already talked about. We just went through the basically 6 enemies. Alright, so on to the bosses. Again, they'll be unlocked. Oh yeah, I did forget to mention this part. So for the boss mechanical doors, not only will you need fuel, you'll also need craftable keys to open the door. As they're mechanical, you'll need fuel in order to physically get them to work, and you'll need a key to unlock the door. So yeah, you'll have to have a few things to get behind that door. And boss number 1 first off, for any of these bosses that we're just about to talk about. If you don't defeat the boss, like if you die to the boss, obviously enough, the boss won't drop any items because it's not dead. And then you'll have to start the entire fight over again. And I still don't fully know what bosses are going to drop. I don't know if they're going to drop weapons extra as like in unison with what they're dropping, or on this part here, the spaceship parts. But anyway, what was I saying? Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna have them drop like unique items and stuff. I don't. I really don't know. I mean, obviously I'm wanting to. I just don't know what it's going to be. So yes, boss number 1. We don't have too many ideas yet for the bosses. I do have some pretty in-depth ideas for boss number 1 though. Not really in-depth. I don't know why I said in-depth. It's not in-depth at all. But anyway, he's going to be called the Fallen Shadow, which we will get to him in the future in the different document. The boss number 1 drops spaceship part number 1. So the point of the game, I haven't said yet, is to get off of this planet. Throughout the game, you'll find different records, halls, and laboratories, which you can already see on the screen at the bottom of the game. Computer screen, words work. Anyway, you'll be able to piece together the lore of the game essentially, and the idea is that the people there before you, scientists, rich people, all those kind of people, built spaceships and went off to Mars and started colonies on Mars because, logic. There are kind of pulsars coming towards you and gonna cause this, fallout. Different game. Anyway, yeah, they're gonna cause mass devastation, and so you're like, hey, gotta get off this planet, so let's build some spaceships. And they did that, and they went off. So what your idea is to, somehow magically these bosses. This is really the only part of the game that doesn't make any logical sense. But these bosses will just drop a whole spaceship part on you. And yeah, so you get 4 parts of the spaceship. I don't know what the names are going to be because I don't know spaceships very well. Probably like thruster, the hull, controls. I don't even know. I really don't know. Gonna have to figure that out. But boss number 1 drops the first part of it, and spaceship parts are necessary to gain. When dropped, a notification from the information hub will appear telling you that you have to collect all 4 parts of the spaceship and the space suit. There will also be an indicator. I don't think I said that on this part, but there will be an indicator pointing towards this. So if you go off screen, it'll be toggleable, I guess. An indicator that can or that will point towards the item in case you forget about it or it drops in an area that you don't notice, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so they are necessary. And now I say necessary, but it doesn't really mean necessary. If you want to forward the plot, it's necessary. In order to complete the game correctly, it's necessary. But again, it's like Terraria. You can do whatever you want. You can forget about leaving the Earth if you want to. Don't even have to fight the Martian boss and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it's boss number 2 drops the second spaceship part. Boss number 3 drops the third one, and then on to the Martian boss. When it's time to fight the Martian boss, he needs a name. I don't have a name because I'm bad at names. But whenever it's time to fight the Martian boss, there will be a button, like just a typical, stereotypical red button, in the information hub for you to press, which will spawn the Martian boss. So there won't be like mechanical doors, there won't be a key that you have to craft, there won't be any really special thing except you've defeated the 3 bosses. And you've also have to collected certain things, which I think we'll get into it in this document. I think so. Anyway, yeah, in order to survive your trip to Mars, you'll have to have food and different materials. So those will be things you'll need to collect before you're able to spawn the Martian boss. Because right after you kill the Martian boss, he'll be dropping spaceship part number 4, which is the final piece of the spaceship, and the oxygen tank, which is the final part to the space suit, which we'll get to the rest of the space suit in a minute. And when he's killed, there is an interactive
maybe not interactive actually, a cutscene of the spaceship being placed down by the player and of the player putting on the spacesuit if the player does not already have them on. And then he'll fuel up the spaceship with uranium, and then he'll be on his way. And if he didn't have the credentials to get on board, like food and such in his inventory, he can't hit the button. Like, there will be a notification saying, "Hey, you don't got the foods to fight the Martian boss." That's pretty much how that'll go down. And then invasion waves. Invasion waves are technically an addition to the game that allows more story and player hours to be in the game. Because I was like, it feels kind of hollow. There's 4 bosses, few cool biomes. What else is there? Well, here's a whole invasion wave. 3 of them. 3 invasion waves. They also give an excuse to give the player the spacesuit. The rest of the spacesuit, that is. So yeah, and they can also add some stories and stuff. Each enemy in the game, or in the invasion, will have their respective areas that they come from, the biomes, that is, of which the player can interpret or infer story from them. So it'll add a little creativity to the game, as opposed to me telling you everything. The first invasion wave will consist of mutated humans, horribly disfigured with radiation burns. Now, this is my story, not necessarily the truth as per the game. It's just my story that I put in there for the unimaginative. They are angry at the player, for he has survived the pulsars without any visible harm. Now, there's going to be a Wikipedia page about this, hopefully, or it'll be a Gamepedia page, and we'll have descriptions of the characters and stuff, and this will be the description of the character right here, pretty much, of this type of enemy, and it will say without any visible harm. Now it's up to you to decide. Does the player in this first game have invisible harm? I don't know. You tell me. So yeah. The enemies carry basic melee weapons and crossbows, which may drop upon death. Haven't calculated any percentages or anything. It'll probably be the typical 30%. Who knows? The very final enemy will drop the spacesuit leggings, which again are necessary to contain, or a necessary item to gain, and it'll also have an indicator on the information hub telling you that you need all 4 parts of the spacesuit and the space ship. So yes, this is where I write about the information I was telling you about. If the final enemy, well, this would be a reasoning as to why you would need to be notified where the thing is. But if the final enemy is not killed and just despawns off screen after the invasion ends, the player will be notified of this in the information hub. Or if you kill him and you just happen to not see where the item is, or whatever, until you pick up the item. A compass will appear next to the UI, or the information hub, and will point towards the item that has dropped. Items dropped by bosses and the last enemy in invasion waves will never despawn, even after exiting the world. And this logic applies to all invasion waves, and bosses, and that kind of stuff. Alright, so Invasion 2. This invasion wave will consist of it'll have multiple teams, but like one team is a human and a dog. Properly named man's best friend. The dog, that is, not the human. That would be stupid. But anyway, the human and dog duo will fight together, coordinating attacks against the player. I'm not the programmer person, so they'll have to figure out how to get them to coordinate attacks. I don't know. But the humans will use short-ranged guns and shotguns, and the dogs will use simple melee attacks. The human and dog duo will, as well, die together. So if the human dies, that dog's dead. If the dog dies, the human's dead as well. Yeah, the invasion was going to consist of tons of those teams. And it drops a spacesuit cover. The final enemy drops a spacesuit cover. Obviously necessary. And then the last invasion, Invasion Wave 3. will consist of small groups of 1 or 2 mutant apes and one handler for the ape. And the handler, much smaller than the ape, will be using a whip as his weapon and riding the ape, at the same time insinuating that he's enslaving the ape. Again, that's for up to you for doing, or blah. It's up to you to interpret, but that's kind of what's there. The ape, on the other hand, will use simple melee attacks, battering the player slowly yet effectively. Essentially, he'll have a very strong attack. The ape will be weak to shotguns, which will promote the player to gain weapons from previous waves and utilize them in the future. If you remember Invasion Wave 2, the humans will use short-ranged guns and shotguns. So, yes. So once the apes in the group have been killed, if before the handler will come down from the ape and attack the player with very quick movements, but with somewhat weak attacks using his whip. And then the final enemy will drop the spacesuit breathing helmet. Alright, and the whole end goal of this game, here we are. The cutscene of this end goal will occur directly after the player has defeated the Martian boss and accepts the button on the information hub. So to give you a little time to do stuff right after you kill the Martian boss, or decide to not go on the space trip and end your world, there's going to be a button to say, hey, send me off to Mars, or something like that. So you don't have to accept it. You can have all the items necessary to defeat the Martian boss and then just decide to stay on the world, and keep the world forever. But the point of the game is to collect all 4 parts of the spaceship, space suit, and all 4 parts of the spaceship. When this does happen, the player will be able to join in on an interactive cutscene, probably not interactive, where he has to put on the space suit and enter the spaceship. So, if the players are already wearing the spacesuit in full, then this will be skipped. If the player is only wearing portions of the spacesuit, the other parts will be put on. The graphics are going to be kind of weak here because it's a 2-dimensional game, obviously, but it'll be there. So the spaceship will be placed down by the player in a location that is at least 5 flat blocks away from the player. So no bumps in the road, no dips, no space in between, that kind of stuff. The player will then walk into the spaceship, and the spaceship will fly off towards the moon, with Mars visibly behind it, and will slowly turn into a 3D animation in order to foreshadow the second game in the series. So what I'm hoping to do is have this 2-dimensional game. It'll have this ending, this pretty cool ending where you go in a spaceship, blast off towards Mars. The moon's there. Actually, you're really blasting off towards Mars. The moon just happens to be, nearby. And so it'll slowly, as you are blasting into outer space past the Earth's atmosphere, turn into a 3-dimensional animation, essentially. And so what I'm hoping to do is have the second game be a 3-dimensional game, and that kind of stuff. And that'd be cool. And I think that's a pretty unique idea. I don't think I've ever seen a 2-dimensional game turn into 3D. I think that'd be awesome. And one thing I did forget to say is that each invasion occur 2 in-game weeks after the start of the game for the first one, and then 2 in-game weeks after you've defeated their respective bosses. So Invasion 1 occurs 2 in-game weeks after the start of the game, whether or not you killed any bosses. Invasion 2 will occur 2 in-game weeks after you've defeated boss number 2, and Invasion 3 after boss number 3. Alright, so here are some more specifics of the game. Just basically random facts of the game. So the very, very beginning of the game will have, before you wake up in that area that we were talking about a really long time ago, there will have been a tutorial which it teaches the player the controls, how to craft items, along with basic survival needs. This will be skippable on future worlds, but mandatory on the first generated world. It's pretty self-explanatory. There will be 2 buildings that will be generated in each of the world. There'll be multiple of them, but there will only be 2 types of buildings. They'll be underground, above ground, who knows? Like, it'll be random. Um, so yes, there will be the laboratory, which will contain different help booklets that will add crafting recipes to the information hub that the player has yet to craft, thereby helping the player advance if needed. Um, which is that crafting section of the hub that I was talking about, the information hub that I was talking about earlier, if you remember. The laboratory will also consist of multiple mutated animals. This is where you'll find those rabid animals at enemy number 5. It'll hint, like the fact that they're rabid and not just mutated, will hint at the fact that they were experiments by the previous inhabitants, some of which actually may have mutated due to radiation. But also, experiments. Experiments are cool, right? Anyway, so there are also records halls, the second type of building to be generated. It will allow the player access to information about what caused the devastation on Earth, at the same time hinting to a greater backstory than is seen on the surface of the game. I have not written anything for the records hall. I really need to do that, but that's going to take a long time. I'm going to need some help from my good old friend Buddy Buds. But it's gonna be pretty cool. I mean, obviously it's gonna be a records hall. Records hall give you records about things that happen, so it'll be like formal records of events and that kind of thing. But and like there will be some log of, hey, we built a spaceship. Why'd you build a spaceship? Oh, the Earth's ending. That kind of thing. And then there will be some other greater backstory that I'm not going to reveal right now because, future games. And if you're watching this, you'll know. You'll know too early. So, anyway, here are the fuel types: gasoline, oil, coal, and uranium. These 4 open the 3 mechanical doors that lead to 3 bosses, respectively. So, oil, coal, and then, gasoline, oil, and coal are the ones that do it respectively, whereas uranium is only used to fuel and power the ship. That's what it is. I know things. Anyway, so you'll also need to be able to create purified water into order to restore hydration. And I also wrote this before I decided to have purified water as the healing potion, so I'm going to have to figure out a different name for this. But, so yeah, it'll restore your hydration. So purified water will be created by using a purification station, which it purifies irradiated water, which is just any random water in the ground that you can scoop up with a bottle and create purified water. It'll act as a health potion, restoring 200 health points. I threw this part in because I was like, oh yeah, purified water was already a thing. So I don't know. I might keep it the same item, or I might change it. I don't know. And it's also not 200 health points. It's 10 base health points. But yeah. So drinking purified water will restore your hydration. So there will be a hydration meter as part of the expanded information hub, as with the radiation meter. And there will be a gasoline or a fuel level thing for your headlight or your light pack, that is. And yeah, so the hydration meter will be part of the expanded information hub. When the player depletes your hydration, he will lose his ability to pick up any crafted item except for purified water and its necessary components, of course, because you have to be able to get purified water. But yes, that's a pretty big downside, and I think that's pretty unique of an idea. And I don't think it's too burdensome to create purified water. So yes, and purified water itself will prevent radiation poisoning. Radiation poisoning is by drinking irradiated water. It will slow the player by 17% of your original speed. And if you're running, 17% of that running speed So yeah, it'll be really annoying because if you know anything about games, whenever your speed is slowed down, it's really annoying. So anyway, additionally, in certain areas of the world, a player will need to place down radiation protectors in order to prevent damage. That is, if you don't have the health things, or I mean the right armor combinations. But there are also radiated biomes. I haven't created really too many ideas for this, except this is probably where uranium's going to be and all those kind of radiation type metals. Um, like titanium's not really one. But anyway, point is, you have to place them down on the ground. In order to leave the planet, the player must also collect food and purified water for your journey. This will be tracked in the information hub. I've already really talked about this, but you'll need a large quantity of an assortment of food as well as a large container of purified water. So there will be farming in the game for food and obviously collection of purified water. Alright, so here are the secret chests. This is a pretty cool idea, I think. You remember that guy I was talking about in the very beginning of the game? The weird guy that's just staring at you from the corner of your screen that you can barely see, and it's really dark, and good luck seeing him. Except the fact that now you're going to be looking for him because I told you. But, so yeah, secret chests will be given to you by him. It'll have a sign on it, kind of like the graffiti of the survivor, but it'll be a sign, and by this guy, which cannot be looted from. The secret chests can't be looted from, mainly because they won't be placed in survival biomes or fallen city biomes. But you get the picture. So yeah, secret chests are kind of like the golden chests of Terraria. It'll have a sign on it saying, I got you something cool, or something along the lines of that. I might come up with a better phrase for that in the future. But they contain uncraftable items. If the players notice a man at the beginning of the game, then the secret chest will make more sense, but I still think they're pretty cool of an idea, even if you didn't notice the guy and have no idea why you're getting secret chests. Maybe it'll just force you to think about the rest of the game. And this will be part of the extended lore of the game. Like I was saying, there, what was it? Was it this? Oh, it was a record hole. Right. No, it was this. No, it was this. I'm stupid. Yes, hinting to the greater backstory than is seen on the surface of the game. So this secret chests will hint at that secret backstory. Alright, so there's some small statistics here. Inventory space is a total of 50. There will be 40 items inside your inventory, and then the hotbar will have 10 additional spaces where you take items from your inventory and put it in your hotbar. And, well, as soon as you move it, there's that open inventory slot there in your inventory. So you'll have an extra 10 slots because of your hotbar. So it'll be 50 inventory spaces. Chest space, chest, geez, words are not working for me. Jeez. Alright, chests can hold up to 25 items total. The player can craft better chests made from carbon steel that hold 40 items. The player begins with 400 hit points. We've already said that. Enemy attacks. Enemy attack values begin at 200, go up to 350, and top at 700 per hit. The attack values are respective to tiers, so 200 will be for the steel, or 200 will be for the steel tier, 350 will be for the carbon steel tier, and 700 will be for the opal tier. Boss attacks. Still to be worked on really, but boss attack values are 1500 per hit. The Martian boss attacks at an astonishing 2000 per hit, so it'll take 10 hits about to kill you, as well as small projectiles that slow the player and accomplish 350 damage by themselves. So yeah, good luck surviving that one. Player statistics: the player can jump about 3 blocks into the air, and again is about 2.5 feet tall. Enemy statistics: enemies are 2 feet tall and can jump 1 foot into the air to help with farming techniques and stuff. Boss statistics: bosses are 10 feet high and the Martian boss is 17 feet high. So those bosses are about 3 times the height of the player. Martian boss is almost 4 times the height of the player. We're not going to go over multiplayer right now, or DLC or donor benefits. That was almost bad. But anyway, so yeah, this is the boss information, which I didn't even remember that I put it here, but I put it here, which is good. So yes, the boss number 1 we've been talking about. My friend and I came up with some pretty cool ideas. I think these are relatively unique. He's called the Fallen Shadow. He is a shadow person about 9 blocks high, which is 3 times the player's size, like I was saying before. He steps on the player. He is literally a shadow, except he actually, is able to interact with the player. He has 3,000 health, which is a lot for what the player is supposed to be at with his steel armor, which actually we can find out right now. What are you supposed to be at with your steel armor? You're only gonna have 1,500 health, so he will have twice the health that you have. His attacks stun the player for 5 seconds, so you're just sitting there taking on attacks for 5 whole seconds, and then don't get hit right away again. There'll probably be like a cooldown of 3 seconds before you can be stunned again or something like that. But anyway, whenever he, the boss, the Fallen Shadow, is under any block or in shade, he is invulnerable. So you gotta fight him in the daylight, above ground, and that kind of stuff. He has a shadow grab attack. He just grabs the player with his hand and throws him 20 blocks away. It causes you to slow down 17% of your original speed until you fix this effect with, again, the purified water. And the slowing effect, logically, you broke a couple bones from that throw, so that's what that does. So yeah. He also creates shadow spears with his hands and throws them at the player. So like his actual hand will turn into a spear, and then his arm will throw that spear and his hand will come back. And the spear will, hurt the player a lot. I think that's a pretty cool idea. One of the better ideas. Whenever you defeat the boss, the shadow breaks into a ton of tiny shadows, which create a secondary... Oh no, they don't create a secondary, I'm stupid. But they create a mini-boss for the Fallen City biome. So you remember the Fallen City biome only had the survivor enemy. Well, whenever you defeat boss number 1, he'll have... the Fallen City biome will also have mini-bosses that are shadows, which fight the player. So, it's pretty cool. I think that's one of the more unique ideas. And then there will be spawning tokens. Like behind the mechanical doors, there will be a pedestal with a token on top of it. So you take the token off the pedestal and then use the token above ground to spawn the enemy, or the boss. And so it'll just be a mini shadow statue. And then boss number 2 is pretty cool. He is a rock golem. He is a giant, like, stone golem. I mean, he's named rock golem, but, stone is the same thing as rock. He's like a mountain. Well, he'll start off as a mountain, and he'll turn into a giant human-like figure about 3 to 4 times the height of the player. He'll throw rocks, as should be obvious. He has a really high defense. Whenever the player attacks the parts... Oh, sorry. I misread my own self. Alright, anyway. So the player will attack this rock golem, and anything that, like, if the player uses a sword, if the sword impacts with the golem's leg, that leg will disintegrate into tiny rocks, but then reassemble. Of course, it does damage to the rock golem, but, it reassembles into his leg, so he's basically unharmed, except his health went down. So anyway, he also uses a rock sword to attack the player. He has an avalanche of rocks, a tidal wave, basically from the sides of the screen to attack the player with. He has red laser eyes that he attacks the player with. And then, one of the most cool things that I have come up with, I think, he takes a chunk of rocks in his hands, throws them across the screen, and the golem himself disintegrates. The rocks that he threw on the other side of the screen, this will all happen really fast, by the way, will build back into the golem behind the player. So in like a split second, he'll be right behind you. I think that's one of the most unique ideas of this so far. But yes, that is all there is to this game document. However, we have a more detailed version of the game document. Now I'm still working on this, so it's not quite as elaborative or not quite as far along as this is, but it'll give you some more detailed things on specific characters. So yes, this is the GDD, or the game design document. Again, it's in progress. The project description is going to be a two-dimensional sandbox survival game, similar in style to Terraria, and as a survival sandbox kind of game, Minecraft. This game tells a story of a man who survived incoming pulsars, which spilled heavy radiation throughout most of the world, killing many and mutating the surviving humans and animals. The player has been lucky, for he was far underground at the time of the pulsar strike. He must now avoid enemies, fight them, determine what happened to the majority of the population, who the player finds left to Mars, and survive, building houses, traps, and collecting resources for a trip to Mars. So characters. The main character is the one who survived the pulsars with relatively no harm to himself. He looks like a normal person, walks like a normal person, and does what the game player wishes. So he's the guy you're playing as, obviously. Bowmancers are one of the basic enemies of the game, shooting arrows at the player. Sometimes they shoot flaming arrows given harsher biome conditions. They look like a normal human, but walk funny. They limp with their right leg. Maybe they fell off a tree. So these are gonna, essentially what's going on here is this is what's going to be the description of the character type, or the enemy in this case. So like I was talking about on that Wikipedia page that we're hopefully going to be able to do, the description for Bowmancer is going to be this, essentially. Alright, so blade wielders carry simple swords. They are comparable to the player as they have crafted these swords and are more intellectually advanced than many enemies in the game. They use strategy along with advanced weaponry to fight against the player. Coincidentally, this basic enemy somehow always manages to match the same exact type of sword that the player has in their hands, even switching swords moments after the player does. Which is something I changed from what I told you guys that I completely forgot about. He doesn't have what you best crafted, but I think this is a cooler idea. Armed soldiers aren't as intelligent as they seem. Maybe they have many different types of basic guns, but they sure didn't create them themselves. They likely raided the blade wielders' military stock. Maybe that's why blade wielders have such a fiery passion against a player. Players can carry the weapons dropped by armed soldiers, so they could be easily mistaken for one of them. Alright, spearmen, they carry pointed sticks. Spearmen carry pointed sticks. Sometimes the more intelligent ones carry two of them. They may not look effective, but when a creepily mutated man with facial deformities comes running at you with a pointed stick or two, you bet your face you'll run away, scared as a baby. Rabid animals are always scary. Why do you think we had veterinarians? To protect against these foam-mouthed terrors. Not terriers. Gosh, I can't talk. Is it a bunny? Is it a cat? Maybe it's a squirrel. Don't get too close, or you may just find the answer you're looking for. Tar monsters are, quite literally, monsters made from radiated tar. The tar pits of the tar biome contain masses of tar. Lots of tar is going on. Allowing these nearby monsters to suck some tar into their mouth and spit the face-melting substance on or near the player. Don't walk on this, for the substance is very, very hot and will slow you to a walk for a little while, not to mention harm you. Desert crabs burrow into the ground just as the player approaches them, mutating into a super crab, of which is very painful for the player. In retreat of the player, the super crab will burrow again, returning as a normal, peaceful-looking desert crab. Mummies of the desert look scary, make scary noises, and hurt like the devil. Don't go near them, or they'll punch you with those cloth-covered hands. Do mummies always have bulges on their hands, or is that new? Pharaoh's in control... The Pharaoh is in control of his kingdom, although after this devastation only competently consists of the mummies of the desert biome. His control, however, makes him stronger, with higher health. Don't underestimate the Pharaoh himself, though, as he has the highest health, defense, and attack in the desert biome. He really likes to whack you with his stereotypical Pharaoh's cane. Gulag generals roam the ice biome, attempting to rally up prisoners back to their prisons. But where are the prisons? I guess radiation can affect your brain as well. They try to rally you, too, with whips, but they are not very good at their job. Prisoners wander the ice biome too, running from gulag generals. They can't see very well with bulges near their eyes, so they must think that you're a gulag general. Their puny fists are no match for your intelligence. Ice narwhals are a sight to see. They only spawn in ice biome waters, shoving their horns up through the ice at the player. Be careful not to run or jump on this ice-covered water, or it may just break, ending with a battle between you and the deadliest enemy in the ice biome. Fire serpents are creepy as can be, considering they're essentially a fire-spitting snake, except much bigger. Enough said on that one, I guess. Firemen may sound cool, but really they're just annoying. They use water hoses to douse the player, along with fire axes to chop off their heads. Don't build a base here, or the firemen will use battering rams to knock through any walls you, the player, build. Paramedics are supposed to heal, but I guess they dabble in other chemical knowledge. Get attacked by one of these and they'll inject you with a chemical mix that will leave you hanging with your attempts to heal. For a good 20 seconds, too. Elemental dragons have 5 heads, one for each element. Water, fire, earth, wind, electricity. That's not right. Either way, they'll cause earthquakes, having rocks fall on your face. They'll summon tornadoes, which will blow you away. They'll create waves of water, shooting you to the oblivion. Electric currents will run through your body, as elemental dragons have the power to control lightning bolts. If you've gotten this far, you'll notice that his head is forming into a flaming ball of fire, which will do twice the damage that he has so far and will be twice as hard to kill. I suggest you just run. Thieves of the Fallen City are the only survivors of the Fallen City biome, raiding any chest that they see. If they see you, make sure to run, because they'll inject you with medicine, and you'll be passed out for a good 30 seconds. Just enough time for the Thief of the Fallen City to steal 5 random items that you're carrying. Shadow elements only spawn after defeating the Fallen Shadow. Information to be determined. This kind of gets a little bit more specific here, but the Fallen Shadow is a giant shadow, a shape similar to that of a human's, 3 times your size. He'll step on you and stun you for about 5 seconds. He has 3,000 health compared to your puny 1,500 health. Don't let him go into the shadows, for that is a safe haven. When attacking, he will grab you with your hand, launching you 20 blocks away and causing you to break a couple bones. It's only temporary, slowing effect by 17%. There are potions to reverse this effect. He will morph his hands into shadow spears, throwing them at you. Kill him and he'll break into 1,000 tiny shadows, creating shadow elements to spawn in the Fallen City biome. What button did I hit? I did not mean to hit the enter button. I'm so sorry. Spawn him using the Fallen Pedestal, unlocked through the crafting of a key, which harbors a small shadow figurine. Rock Golem is a tough boss, literally. He throws rocks at you after coming out of the ground, forming a mountain and turning into a golem, ever so slightly resembling a human. Attack him and some rocks may break off, but they'll just reassemble. Of course, his health will take a slight dip. Sometimes, Rock Golem uses a sword made purely of rock. This is a better sword than even the best one that the player can craft, the Opal Sword. It'll hurt. Strange enough, he seems to have red lasers that emit from his eyes every now and then. Other times he has an avalanche of rocks barraging the player. Perhaps the most impressive aspect of the Rock Golem is that he will take a chunk of rocks into his hands, throw them across the screen to behind the player, and disintegrate. The rocks he threw will build back into his previous form. We haven't come up with information for boss number 3 yet, and we haven't come up with too much information for the Martian boss yet, sadly enough. But the story is basically, through laboratories and records halls, the players should gain the idea that people left Earth with knowledge of the pulsars to come. With these records hinting that some people built a spaceship to fly off to Mars who would not be hit with the pulsars. Did that make any sense? With these records hinting that some of the people built a spaceship to fly off to Mars who would not be hit with pulsars. Yeah, that sentence doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. But I think you get what I was trying to say. Laboratories will explain that pulsars are essentially just streaks of radiation, kind of like bars or sticks of radiation, similar to a glow stick, but deadly. When these pulsars come in contact with the planet, they cause a form of a heat wave, which does not physically destroy anything, but mutates some life and kills most. Odd enough, the scientists were incorrect about their assumptions of how close these pulsars would be to Earth, and so when they actually struck, they did not destroy plant life like they had believed they would, although they still killed the majority of the people on the planet, mutating most other life, humans and animals alike. Luckily, the player was far enough underground that these pulsars did not affect him. Or maybe they did. Either way, the player has to build a spaceship to blast off to Mars. He must know if human he must know if he must know if normal humans are still alive. Words are difficult. I'm sorry. So, this is kind of getting more into weird stuff here, but I'll go ahead and read it for you. Story progression. At the very beginning of the game, the player is to awaken inside a deep underground hole resembling what used to be a well. Luckily for the player, there are some tools in a bag on the ground nearby. He picks them up, barely noticing gleaming eyes from the left side of the screen. It is up to the person playing to actually notice them, as they should be very hard to see, in an Easter egg essentially. The player also notices a way up out of the hole and begins climbing, seeing 3 rooms on his way up, each of which have a mechanical door, locked, and a pedestal inside. These are the rooms that harbor the boss spawn eggs. The game begins. In order to progress, the player must defeat all 3 bosses, the Fallen Shadow, Rock Golem, and boss number 3. To do this, the player must craft keys and unlock the mechanical doors seen at the very beginning of the game. The player must also successfully defeat all 3 invasion waves. When done, there will be a button inside the information hub that will spawn the Martian boss. At the end of the game, when the player defeats the Martian boss, the player should have already all 3 parts of both the spaceship and the spacesuit, gaining the 4th part of the spaceship by killing the Martian boss. He should also have the items that the records halls told him he needs in order to safely and successfully blast off to Mars with. If he does not have them in his inventory, a checklist paper will be given to the player, and he must collect the items before these next events unfold. After gathering all materials needed and defeating the Martian boss, the game will automatically, when the button in the information hub is pressed, assemble the spaceship in front of the player. The player will then put on a spacesuit, fill up the spaceship's gas tank, and get inside the spaceship. The spaceship will then blast off towards Mars and the moon that, coincidentally, is seen by nearby Mars in the distance. In hopes this scene would slowly turn into a 3-dimensional layout, leaving the player with something new, hopeful, and potentially dangerous. It is here that the first game, Rover Bound to Earth, ends with a message. Don't travel too far, or you may just never come back. Or come back in Rover Space Station. Your choice. I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool line there. And then this is the last section that I have finished so far. Not necessarily game related or anything like that, but well, I mean, it's obviously game related, but nothing you would necessarily care about. But I'll read it anyway, just in case somebody does. Goals. The player is not limited to any one goal, but they are expected to gather up enough resources in order to defeat all 4 bosses and all 3 invasion waves. Through this, they can gather all 4 parts of both the spaceship and the spacesuit. Another goal is to just farm, attempt to get every item in the game, explore every part of the game, etc., and to collaborate with others in order to build whatever they wish to build. User skills. The player is expected to be able to do the following on their own. Be able to easily use WASD and to move quad directional, so left, right, up, and down. Space to jump, and shift to crouch or fall through a platform or something. Be able to explore land on their own without multiple, if any, prompts from the game. Be able to collect resources on their own, however they may need little help finding their locations. Be able to use a mouse competently. Right-clicking, left-clicking, and moving the cursor around should be easy tasks in any game. Be able to easily access a controls menu at any point in the game. At no point should the player be completely lost as to how to play the game. The goals should be clear enough that they don't have to know what they're coming up against, but that they are coming up against. This includes what resources are imperative, bosses and invasion waves, basic enemies, etc. So essentially this user skills idea right here is what this game should be bringing to the player. It's badly worded, but So the player shouldn't have to question any of these user skills here in the game. Like, the player should be able to easily access a controls menu at any point in the game. That's on us. However, using a mouse competently, unless we messed up the game, that should be their own thing. And we shouldn't have to tell them, but it should also not be like it should be stereotypical. If you know what I mean. That's the best I can word it. But that is as far as I've gotten with the GDD. I think it is going well. For the GDD, that is. And I'll eventually be able to expand this. So I have the next game right here, but I'm not going to go over that. This is already kind of a long episode anyway, as is obvious. And also, I kind of want to save that for later when I'm able to expand it and whenever this game is completed, and I don't want to spoil the next game. So we'll just skip all over to here. So if you go to my website, I'll put an annotation on the screen and you can see it right here. It's pretty simple. It's just firedragongaming.com/ROVEIndustries.html. This specific part of it right here is case sensitive, but the rest of it is not. So yes, if you just go to firedragongaming.com, you'll be at the home, and all you have to do is click on Rove Industries. It's that simple. But you can donate in two places. One, just direct donate, or you can become a patron. I misspelled that. I'm dumb. There should be an E before that O, I think. But yeah. Alright, so this is the website. It has the same basic information on here as it does as the other places, but this is specifically my website. So it has a link to our Discord channel here. Hit the connect button and you're straight up invited. You can see the people online. You can see the different channels and such. And over on the right is our Kickstarter page. Now this looks completely different if you're on mobile. It looks really weird. It's impossible to make the mobile version with this stupid thing I'm using. To make the mobile version look different than this, and the way it formats the mobile version is really dumb. I really wish it would add an ability to allow me to auto format it differently than the desktop version, but they don't. So anyway, yeah, our Kickstarter thing is right here. Just click on the thing and it'll start playing the video we have for the Kickstarter, and I think if you click on the K it'll take you to the Kickstarter page. Yeah, it will. So anyway, this is the description of what I've created, or the created, wait, words are so difficult. So this is what I have as the description so far. The player will awake, confused. He will find his way to the surface, picking up a bag of simple tools to start off the game. The player must survive and defeat each of the invasion waves, bosses, and finally, the Martian boss. Can you collect all parts of the spaceship and the spacesuit? Game development, so all the ideas and everything are me, Fire Dragon. Game creation and coding right now is a vacancy. It's kind of difficult to find people to do that for free, and I don't kind of have the money to pay someone, so we need donations to help pay for a developer. And eventually, this guy right here will be doing coding as soon as he, learns how. He knows enough to do stuff, but not enough to fully create a game or random generation or any of that kind of stuff. So we're going to wait a few years for him to be in college and learn enough to actually create the game. Or we could actually hire someone. That would be great. So what the graphics are him and I, and there's one other person that I paid to do some graphics, but we'll get to that in a second. But the main people are him, my friend Jackson, actually, if you know him from my YouTube series of Halo and Terraria and anything. But yeah, we both created some of the graphics and stuff. And then there's music, John Wood. He's created the first boss soundtrack, and it sounds amazing. And there's a link to it in the Discord channel if you go to it. So yes, and then sound effects, a guy named Averon, he's on the Discord channel. He's created some pretty cool sound effects so far. But yeah, so on a more detailed version of the game, visit my older video where I talked about actually this game as well. But focus on Rover Bound to Earth. That's the point. And I'm going to update this to be this video whenever it comes out. So yeah, we're in the process of creating this game. However, any game is better when you're able to pay for things rather than scrounging for people who will do stuff for free online, which, let me tell you, it doesn't work well. The graphics developer does not actually own Photoshop, a necessary tool for creating our 2D graphics, and it's like $20 a month to pay for this thing. They took away the ability to just buy a one-time license, which is stupid. But and right now, this is our last week of school. He uses our school coding class computer Photoshop program to create the graphics that he did create. And soon we'll be out of school, May of 2017. That today is May of 2017. This is our last week, and it would be great if we could buy the program and continue working on graphics. Although I myself have a minimum wage job at McDonald's, a source of income is preferred and required for some, and likely all, members of the development team, as well as donations to this project will allow us to hire more coding developers and graphic designers for this game. With their help, we can finish this game quickly and without shortcuts. Donate $10 now and gain a game key when the game is finally completed that has a special item tailored for your username. Any questions, comments, or suggestions about the game, email myself, or go to our Reddit page. Oh yeah, that's something I forgot to add up here. Anyway, our current graphical assets. A person created a cool logo from Fiverr, actually, Fiverr.com. Found this guy and he created this logo. I think it's pretty cool as compared to our old logo. But yes, here are the stuff that I created. So here's the sword design. I think that's chromium yellow. This is sapphire. This is copper. This is dirt. This is not a sword. Dirt, emerald, iron, sand, merged sand, merged dirt, merged stone, merged wood. This is the opal sword. I like this opal sword. Just saying. Whoops, that was ruby. This is just sand. That was sapphire, actually. One of them before was titanium, not sapphire. This one was steel. This one's... No, this is steel. What's that? What was this one? Oh, this is silver. Duh, I knew that. And then this is steel. Regular stone. Titanium. This is titanium. I don't remember things. This is the torch. Regular wood and the background. And then I'll show you guys all this later anyway, with names and stuff. And then I'm just going to quickly flip through all of his graphics. He has a ton of graphics that he created. Oh my. Okay. His stuff is kind of a different style. He's really good at this kind of detail stuff. I don't know how, but he is. I'm better at the sword. Pretty much just the sword. That's what I'm better at. And apparently the blocks. He's bad at the blocks somehow. It's all blurry and small and stuff. And then the I think this is my favorite armor, the cobalt armor. Other than the gem armors, the gem stuff that he created looks pretty cool. So yes, this is my friend's stuff. We'll go over all that later. And then this tile set here, I paid the guy to create. The font, essentially, these are all the letters and anything you would need. He created the information hub and the hotbar, HP, inventory stuff. And then all graphics are property of the ROVEIndustries game development team. These graphics have been created by Najd, Vampire 1050, and Fire Dragon 1. So yes, that is the website. And then we have this, which is our patron page, or Patreon, however you want to pronounce it. So yes, it has the same stuff here and all that stuff, except it has goals right here. This really came from Kickstarter. I'll explain in a minute. But goals. There isn't really much to say about myself. I simply want to impact the world, and creating a video game is the best way I can think to accomplish my goal. Video games are a great source of conveying messages to audiences, and I would like the opportunity to change other lives, to get them thinking about how the world is, and how the world should be. Maybe this game, Rover Bound to Earth, only allows me to express myself creatively, but maybe in the next game I can make a difference. So yes, again, all this stuff is the same. It gives the link to my website for the graphic stuff and contact, and then the Reddit page. And then it has donate $10 per month, and you get the game key when it's completed with a special item tailored to yourself. And then the Kickstarter is essentially the same thing. Has all this here, and then it had a risks and challenges section that it asked me to put. And then it also had a biography thing for myself, my creator profile, which is what you just heard me say here. So that's where that came from. But yes, the risks and challenges. There are risks to the video game creation process. Maybe the game doesn't get enough funding. The game doesn't get made, and the developers must look for a new job. What happens when people don't like the game they paid for or donated to? I don't know. But you can make a difference by giving your input and by donating to the game. And then, same old game key thing here. With your help, we can finish the game quickly and without shortcuts. So hopefully we'll be able to complete this game by April of 2018, but I highly doubt that's going to happen, considering nobody's ever, helping, like coding-wise. And I think that's pretty much it for this kind of stuff. And then we have, I didn't quite pull this up. I should have thought of it. Reddit. There we go. I could have just clicked the link on the other thing. But anyway, so yes, I created a subreddit for the video game. So we have a suggestions thing. Have any questions about the confusing nature of this subreddit? Ask away. More importantly, suggest something for us to fix or add, as this is a very new experience to us. Did we forget an important link in the resources announcement? Please help us out. And so yes, we have that. We have the Kickstarter page has been created. It's just straight up a link to the Kickstarter page. And then resources. All the links you need to fully understand Rove Industries. The Kickstarter page, the Discord channel, the stupid desktop version. You can't format very well, but it looks good on the phone version, or the mobile version. But yeah, here's our website. Here is the Discord channel right here. And then the Patreon page. And then the current YouTube video. You need to contact the owner of the subreddit, email one of these, that one, or that one, forgetting the spaces. Check inside the supporter channel in the Discord for the links to the current assets and game development sheets. Be wary, graphical, music, and developmental ideas are property, don't know what I hit, are property of Rove Industries. So yes. Those are the things we have. We have a subscriber. I don't know who he is, but he is there. So anyway, we're gonna go over here. These are the files for the person I paid, Najd, whatever. This is the tile set, and then this is essentially it all put together. This is the options and everything. Let's see. Yeah, the main menu. Options, they'll have, this is the volume and stuff, and create character or create world. And if I didn't quite, or wait, alright, I put stuff in different places. So he created some blocks. I'm not going to use these, to be honest. They don't quite fit the style that I'm wanting, but this is some stuff he sent over. This is going to be the information hub here, is where he put it, and then inventory along with the crafting section or something like that, and then armor, and yeah, that's all there is to that. And then here are my fixed up graphics. I have some other graphics here that I kind of didn't do the best at creating, and so I redid them and made them look nicer and made them separated and all that kind of stuff. So here we are. We have the bronze pickaxe. This is, I know, a bad drawing. It's really bad. It's not what a pickaxe looks like. So we're not going to use that at all. I mean, if we have to, I guess, fine, maybe. But I didn't even bother making the different variants and stuff. So here we have the bronze sword, is what this one is. I was wrong. This is not the iron sword. We have the bronze sword. We have the carbon steel sword. We have the chromium sword. This is alphabetical, by the way, not by tiers. So, yeah. Chromium sword, it's really technically chromium yellow, because I didn't want everything to be silver, because chromium, titanium, iron, and silver are all the same color, and steel are all the same color. So I had to get creative. So we have chromium yellow, although it's just going to be called chromium. We have the cobalt sword. We have the copper sword, Statue of Liberty color, because that's actually what it looks like. Emerald sword, iron sword. Oh, well, it just looks similar to the bronze sword. That's why I got it confused. It's just a slightly darker shade. The opal sword, I'm really proud of. I like it. The ruby sword, sapphire sword, the silver sword, the steel sword, and the titanium blue sword. Those are all the swords, and here's the background that I created. Not the best, but it's at least something. Then we have dirt, we have merged dirt, we have merged sand, merged stone. The stone and sand look better from a distance as smaller things, but they do look good, I think. Merged wood, regular sand, regular stone, the torch that I created, and regular wood. However, we do have, Jackson decided to put it in my stuff, but he edited a couple of things. This is the new torch. I think it does look better. He obviously didn't make it a PNG because he's stupid or something. I don't know, but it looks nice. It's a tad bit too golden, I think. But either way, it looks nice, so I'm definitely not complaining. And then, not the pickaxes. The sword, he edited one of the swords. He needs to do this for all of them. But he made it look more textured, more sword-like. And it does look pretty good. I wouldn't necessarily say it necessarily fits into the style I was thinking, but again, it looks good, and I think that's pretty good. So yeah, it looks pretty nice. And then here are the older graphics of his stuff that he created. It's all organized. I'm not even going to show you guys that. It takes too much time to do that. But, so the next thing I have is the last thing. We have our Discord channel. And, Avron and John Wood are on here. We have our voice channels. Nobody uses them because nobody is really here. And then we have our programming channel, which is for people that are programming, and I have descriptions for each of them, which I think are pretty cool. Which I should probably start with the general one. General: relax here, away from the stress of a specific channel. Talk and collaborate with others in this channel. And then programming: have any questions specific to the programming of the game? Come here and ask away. Maybe even collaborate with a programmer specifically in this channel. Graphics are essential. Come to this channel to see what you have not before. Collaborate with the graphics person if needed. So yes, we have a Google document for our needed graphics list. This is essentially for the graphics person, which is not even in this Discord yet. He needs to get on that. He keeps forgetting about it. And here's the link to the first boss music that he created. And, so yes, music. Music is supposed to be a stress reducer. If the music is not up to par, collaborate here with the musical composer. Then we have sound effects, a list of the needed sound effects. What do you mean you can't hear the rustling of the wind? Take up your issues here with the sound effects. And then development. This is where the nerds talk about how the game should be. Maybe we can't code, compose music, or create graphics, but we sure can create the ideas for a great video game. And by nerds, I mean me, Fire Dragon, and my friends. Or my friends and I is what I should have said. But anyway, collaborate here with the development team. Then we have the supporter, which is where all the links to everything is. So supporter: if you're not into any of the repeating developmental cycle of video game development, but are still excited to see this game become a reality, chat in here with other supporters of the game. So yes, we have the link to the game files, the GDD right here, the current graphical assets, and the soundtracks that we have. So these are the folders. Support the game by going to firedragon.com and reading everything under the ROVEIndustries tab. And then we have a subreddit. And then I didn't say anything about the Kickstarter, except I said it in here. So yeah. That is all there is to this. That was a very long thing of talking and stuff, and my voice is like dying if you couldn't tell. So, anyway, I'm gonna put like 7 annotations, links for you guys to go to everything that we have here. And thank you guys for watching. Please support this game. And I'll see you in the next episode of Fire Dragon.